Welcome to our podcast today. Champions are built. This is Coach EJ Eric Johnson.
This is Coach. Oh, this is
I'm
Coach
sorry, I
Eric
forgot that part.
Bigfin, the source. You put that pause in there.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yes, I did, my man.
Got another great subject on tap for us today. Tell us about it.
Aaron, it is when should you start your athletic online presence out there? Social media. When should you do it, Aaron? When
And
should
this
you
was a
start?
question by one of our parents, one of our listeners. So thank you very much, Ms. Shine. It's a good question because we did do a podcast about social media, and I forgot the title, but I'll put a link to it on this podcast so you guys can go back to it. That one delved in more into kind of the dangers, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, that sort of thing. But I don't think we really hit on, the timing of it.
Right.
And that's a good question. It's like when do you start that? And maybe what should it look like? And EJ, I know you're, definitely versed on the recruiting end of this. So
Right.
I definitely would like to hear your thoughts on that. Because to me, I'm thinking, yeah, I guess if that's part of the recruiting process, then that should be a strategic decision and planned so that you know what you're going to post, where you're going to post it, what it should look like. But anyway, take it away.
Yeah, Aaron, I think it's important. A lot of people understand that social media is part of recruiting now, and I think a lot of coaches are on Twitter, to be quite honest with you, more than Instagram. And it's a way to get a hold of coaches. It's a way to show them what you can do, but it's a contact. It's contact information. DM the coach, right? And they get back to you. It's so different. It's the emails are almost archaic, to be honest with you. Send a video and an email can be archaic. Now it's like, hey, check out my Twitter feed. This is when I'm pitching. This is when I'm playing. Here's my schedule. Now the coaches just go, oh, there's my guy. He's playing here. I don't have to call him anymore. He's already put it on his social media. So social media is playing, and Twitter is playing a huge role in the online presence for a student athlete now. It's a recruiting tool, Aaron. It really is now. And I think strategically, you need to put it on there when you're ready to be seen, because that's the key. Like, you could put it up early, like an eighth, ninth grader, and you weigh 100 pounds and you don't look like anything. When people say, oh yeah, I'm just going to put something up, don't do that. Be smart. Again, you said strategic. Knowing how to do that, when to do it is critical. And I always tell people, do it when your body, your resume, everything is in order. Just don't put it up because everybody's putting it up, because it can hurt you too. It can help you and it can hurt you. So have a better understanding when that is. And for some, it could be early, and for some, it could be later. But it is now a tool for recruiting in all sports, not just baseball, all sports.
Right. So I guess from the parent's perspective, who's going to be watching this, I mean, even if it's, based on your criteria, let's narrow it down a little bit more. In other words, when are you most likely or probably most at that point to do those things? Is it seventh grade, sixth grade, eighth
Right.
grade, ninth grade? So what would you say is at least that starting age to start to consider those things? And what should your initial online presence look like? I mean, is that putting yourself on recruiting sites? Is that establishing, I don't know, a website or whatever? I know that's probably old
Right.
school, but establishing a Twitter account or an Instagram account. And, what kind of information should go on those accounts initially?
That's a
Um,
great question. I think it's an awesome question, Aaron.
but to preface that, I guess I want to say, parents, this shouldn't be just a, okay, Johnny, you're 13, you can put a put an account up now. No, I think startup should be prefaced with the conversation with your athlete as to why you're doing it, what your intent is, what the restrictions are, what the
Right.
ramifications of putting the wrong things up are, what are the wrong things, and maybe having some kind of birds and bees talk of social media.
Absolutely. Yeah, Aaron, those tidbits and nuggets you just gave parents are huge. Um, and parents, please listen to that. I think that was really critical what he said about, the birds and bees of social media and what you should put up and what you want your online presence to look like. And to answer your first question, Aaron, I think it's somewhere in your sophomore year. I really
Hmm.
do. I think it's a kind of thinking back on it over the past 10 years. It seems like that is the average. That's a good average point to start at. Um, and the reason why is because of the recruiting rules. I think after your sophomore year, then they can, after August 1st, they can really talk to you going into your junior year. I think it's a good time to do that. Um, During the rising junior year, you're just completed your sophomore year, college recruiters, if we're just talking baseball, are going to be looking for those type players for their next recruiting class. If you're looking at the power four, the big guys, then um, it might be earlier for those athletes who are ready and are skilled and are have a very huge following already. Then they could, do it after their freshman year. But to be honest, for the average Joe, sophomore year, it's a great time to do it. That summer of your sophomore year, after you've completed your sophomore year, it's a good time because that's when a lot of coaches are going to say, "Hey, what videos do you have? What's your GPA?" These are things that can go on your Twitter account. GPA, um, um, good videos that you have, game footage, BP footage, pitching footage, and they don't have to be long, Aaron. They can
Mhm.
just a minute. That's all they need to see. They don't need because they're gonna have to get in front of you anyway, Aaron.
Right.
So minute is perfect. And I tell parents, hey, 1 minute clips are great. 30-second clips are great. They don't want to see a storybook. They don't want to see a whole like, oh my goodness, because they get bored. They want to see a little taste of what these athletes can do and they can move on. But I think understanding what high school they go to, okay, um, a and you have to be careful. I wouldn't put phone numbers on there on Twitter accounts, stuff. I stay away from that. But they can, they have your Twitter handle. They get in contact with you there, and then if there needs to be more personal contact, then that can be held at a later time. But it's always important to just have those basic information things about your correct name, high school, um, um, stuff like that. I think is really important. GPA, a short video, DM me back if you're interested, um, and then you can start the recruiting process. And that helps your online presence with that, doing stuff like that. So I think that's important.
And we also did another podcast on what type of videos you should put on. I can't remember again. I can't seem to get in my our list here, but I'll also put the link on that where we talked about it's not just about putting up highlights, but
Right.
putting up other things about you as an athlete that might show you congratulating teammates, cheering them on, whatever other things that might show your work ethic.
Mhm.
Maybe it's a strikeout, but it was still a good at bat.
Right.
Maybe you bobble a ball on the play, but you stay with it.
Mhm.
And, those
Yeah.
sorts of things as well kind of show a broad spectrum of you as an athlete, not just a spectacular diving catch here or the
Mhm.
walk-off home run or those sorts
Right.
of things.
Right. Aaron, along those subjects, I think that's important. So when they put any workout videos there and it's a minute and there's a maybe you fouled off a ball or you threw a bad pitch, hey, keep that in there. Let's see how the athlete reacts after that. Because that's a big part of recruiting is that, when I talk to recruiters, Aaron, our college coaches, here are some of the things that they say. I like to see what happens on the next ground ball that's hit to them because they missed that one before,
Right.
or how they react after the strikeout, how they walk back to the dugout, how their presence is. I like to see how they walk to the field and set their bag down and how they interact with their teammates. All of that stuff is a huge part of that. And so if you show that on your online presence, and your social media too, like all that stuff, it doesn't have to be perfect there. And I think that's what we need to get away from when we're doing this is your online presence doesn't have to be perfect. There
Right.
needs to be a human side of it that tells a story about you as a human, you know, rather than like you said, all this highlight films and stuff like that, because that happens in a very short amount of time. And that happens, not as frequently as a strikeout, not as frequently as a missed ground ball. How do you deal with that? So I think you said something, parents, I think is important, is let them see the human side of you a little bit and see how you really are, because that's who you will be.
Well, it's something that came to mind that you always talk about is athletes nowadays I can't always make adjustments. So I think something like that in a practice where maybe they're showing some practice swings off a tee or something,
Right.
and that's a perfect opportunity for you to show a coach how you make an adjustment from
Mm-hmm.
maybe one swing to another. So keep that bad swing in there, but then put the next swing in there where you've made the adjustment.
Yeah, that just shows, the coach that you're coachable, you
Yeah.
know? I always call it, athletes being coachable and they're able to adjust and do stuff. I think that goes a long way with your online presence is to show that you are or you have the ability to make an adjustment and you are coachable. Critical things, I think, in the game.
Hmm. Okay. Okay.
you know but here's another thing too, Aaron, is that what social medias are you using? Are you using Snapchat? I think Twitter's great. I do. Twitter, YouTube, those are two of the best. Instagram, coaches follow that a little bit, but they're more on Twitter. I found out more college coaches on Twitter and YouTube videos and stuff like that. Send my link here. I think that's important. I don't see a lot of coaches on Snapchat and doing stuff like that. Or Instagram is entertaining, but I don't, they can watch a little clip there. But I see more coaches, to be honest, parents on Twitter and on YouTube links and stuff like that. Or people have their own websites too.
Yeah.
So Aaron, that athletes, send their link to the coach, but if they do so, they're using Twitter or YouTube to send that link to them, rather
Right.
than on an email, and then if you can get the coaches, the recruiting coordinators telephone, you can just send them messages that way, to show them, your website and stuff like that. But the fastest and probably the best way, Twitter, YouTube.
Yeah. I like that. I like
Yeah. That's what I have to say about that. You got any other notes on just online presence? I think you said some critical things about what to put on. I think that's really important. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
this one again, we're talking about more when to start and that sort of
Yeah.
thing. Um, Again, we did do a podcast on what not to put on uh social media, and you guys can refer back to that so that way we don't make this podcast too long and
Yeah,
just repeat the
exactly.
same thing. But no, I guess it's part of the strategy of getting recruited. Um, and you want to have a plan. And I would probably say less is more. Keep
Oh.
keep things simple, keep them short and concise, make them, and again, this is just from a mechanic standpoint, make them so that people can find things easily. Don't have on videos, don't have, 30 seconds of build up to one hit, because remember, coaches have to see hundreds of these, and they don't want to wade through 30 seconds of your kid standing around before it gets up to bat. So do some good editing. But again, like you said, show the whole picture. Even if a kid, grounds out, maybe you want to show him hustling to first base to beat it out.
Right.
So, again, pull the lens back a little bit. Don't necessarily look at highlights. Just look at, hey, this is my kid as a baseball athlete or a track athlete or football athlete or whatever the case may be.
Well said, Aaron. Well said today. And this is our conclusion to our athletic online presence today. It's Coach EJ from Champions Are Built, the brand.
And this is Coach Aaron Thigpen, the source. We'll see you.